lot of rappers are like that, but they don't know it.
They don't peep it.
They don't get it about themselves.
And then there's a certain amount of time that the weed takes to get out of your system. So like, if they was to not smoke weed for maybe 2 weeks, they would be brand new people.
But like 600 Breezy yesterday was smoking weed the whole time, and he was talking a mile a minute. He didn't get bothered by it at all.
See,
like
some people just have that in them.
I feel like he's just been doing it for so long that it's just a regular part of his
Breezy.
everyday
I love
routine.
Breezy. Like,
he's one of the best communicators in the history of drill music. He could be a huge podcaster if he really put his mind to it.
He's very open.
Great man.
The shit yesterday.
He started to remind me of Blueface.
Oh, really?
Not in like the ignorant way, but more the sense of like he's kind of like fully on some, but he's also like really smart.
He's really
and
smart.
he could, if he just like, I don't know.
You know, Drake was about to scoop him up.
Yeah,
Did
back
you
in
guys
the
talk
day.
about that?
Yeah.
Well, he said he was on tour with them for like a year or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think he caught.
Why do you think
the
Drake
case.
fell back from?
It wasn't that Drake fell back. He got locked up again.
Yeah.
So it was like right when everything was taking off, he ended up, and it's so crazy because I interviewed him the night before he ended up getting locked up. And it was like, I'm like, damn, because it was like his resurgence again. Like it was going to happen. So, I mean, you never know with this. It could still happen.
It's got to be weird to be in the position of like just really hanging out with a rapper that hard, because it's like if Drake was taking Breezy on tour and shit for like a year and having him in his house and having him in the studio, and it's dope as but it's also kind of like if you don't really have a role, how long are you going to be doing that for? How long is that going to be interesting before you're kind of like, well, I kind of want to focus on my own, even if my own is a lot smaller than being a part of like the biggest artist, you know?
Yeah. I think he would have been able to put out his music and continue to grow, I think. But I think it could still happen. I feel like with like the age that we live in, I wouldn't put anything past, who knows? He could swoop back around and come scooping.
The thing is like how big could Breezy get as just being a street artist? It's kind of like at this point in the game, you kind of need to like have something else to you to make you like a really big thing, like Blueface with the reality show, or I don't know. It's just like I don't know if Breezy's potential is just doing music. I feel like his potential could be bigger than that.
Well, you know what's crazy? I was just having this conversation. I feel like at this point, you need to have a storyline, and it's for better or for worse. It's a popularity contest, and I hate that. It is what it is. You need to have a storyline. You need to have something that people identify with outside of the music. The music is almost second at this point. You need to have something that people can follow along to. You need to go live constantly. You need to make content. You need to constantly have yourself involved in stuff, and then people will also listen to the music. I feel like you can have a huge hit, but people still want to know, like, if you're fighting with your baby mom and stuff like that. And that's going to get more views than anything.
But somebody like Blueface is constantly in the media. Like he clearly knows how to make people talk about him on a very consistent basis. But then at the same time, like that doesn't really translate into people listening to his music. But he is also able to like take these girls and build them into stars, which he's done it twice. Who knows if he could really do it again? But I mean, it's kind of like, even when I think about my career, sometimes I think, well, maybe at a certain point, I need to just jump ship on me being on camera and start to purely just like manage talent, or because I see people doing that, and it's kind of like, would you rather have 100% of yourself or 20% of Travis Scott? If you're with it enough that you could identify the next Travis Scott and you could get him to the point of being Travis Scott, you might want to give up being you to just be the guy managing somebody else. I'm not saying I'm ready to do that, but it's a very logical decision.
That's true. I mean, but then you don't have as much control, because you have control of your entity and your aura, and you can pretty much do what you need to do. But if you are investing 100% into this other person, you can't really control,
Do you want to put your future in some Zayn head rappers'
exactly.
hands
and
where
then
they
don't
could
want to
just
do
get
it
rid of your
anymore.
ass?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
they get in one argument with you and you're out the door. And especially a lot of managers don't even have contracts, so you don't even have like legal repercussions.
So it's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool also to have people invested and interested in your life. It's annoying, obviously, to a certain point, but it does add a lot of value.
So, okay, tell us about the early days of Drea. We didn't do a normal introduction.
I know.
Did we start? I think we already started.
Yeah.
I assume they hit the button.
We got Drea in the building.
What up, everybody? It's your girl Drea. And
No Jumper, the coolest podcast in the world. Boom. There it is. Just so you don't say we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. But so, all right, where did you grow up, and tell us a little bit about your younger days?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think a lot of people are, a lot of people have that question because they're like, what? She sounds so proper. Where's she from? Blah, 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 covering the drill movement. I'm from Chicago. I was born in Chicago. I was born on the north side. So a lot of people don't talk about the north side of Chicago. It's where the Jamaicans and the Africans are from. It's a lot of people over there. Both of my parents are from Africa. They're Ghanaian. They came here as immigrants. They moved to the north side. And my dad got out the mud. He was driving a cab. He was working, all of these jobs while going to school. And he ended up getting his degree and moving us out the hood. And we moved to the suburbs. But I've always been interested in just the hip hop movement. At one point, I thought I was going to be like on the radio and I wanted to do that whole thing. And of course, that's not an easy route. So I ended up just doing my own thing and trying to build my own platform and making a YouTube channel early when it wasn't even popular. It was just like, I was forced to do it because it was kind of like I wasn't given the opportunities to be like a mainstream type of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm a dark-skinned girl from a little bit chubby. Listen, 10 years.
You look great.
Now.
Okay.
it took like
10 years ago, you didn't look as good?
It's not that, but you got to find yourself.
Yeah.
It takes a little second to grow into who you are.
But also, if you want to be a radio personality, which, how old are you? Early 30s?
Take a guess.
31.
Yeah. How you guess?
Is that really?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm an expert in women. But, our generation, well, I'm 9 years older than you, but a lot of people who are in their 30s or whatever, the goal in terms of media as a hip hop person is I'm going to get the radio station to hire me.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to become a DJ or something. And those opportunities are shrinking, and the people who have those jobs are holding on to them with
For
every
dear
bit.
life.
Yeah. You look at the New York rap scene, you got people like Funkmaster Flex and Charlemagne and all these
20
guys.
years, 15 years in.
They're not going to just give up their spot.
No.
And those spots are quickly vanishing.
5 of them.
Yeah, there's very few.
Yeah, so it was like that. And especially coming up in a place like Chicago, we had 2 radio stations. We had Power 92 and 107.5. And I just knew I was going to be on 107.5. I just knew. So I'm going that route. Went to college, studied broadcasting at Columbia. And then I tried to get a job at the radio station and I ended up as a traffic reporter, a producer when I first came in. So I'm doing traffic reports the Eden's inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose is 20 minutes. Outbound to Lake Cook is the same. The Kennedy, there's a stall on the right shoulder you should be aware of. It's going to take 20 minutes. I'm doing that with 50-year-olds, and I'm 23 or whatever, and I'm just oh my God, sad.
Are you thankful to have the job, or are you bummed
100%.
But you're bummed because this isn't the content you want to do?
My first job out of college was at iHeartMedia, so I can't really complain, but I was a traffic reporter. So it didn't really translate to the hip-hop stuff that I wanted to do.
Right.
But then that made me make my YouTube channel.
And when you made your YouTube channel, what was the first type of content you was putting out? You went strictly with the drill stuff?
Because that was what was happening. It was this crazy surgence of insane. Because at the time, I think Chicago was so violent at that time. This was the height of the craziness that was going on in the city. And through that birthed the music. So it was I was just there and I was just covering the drill movement as it emerged. And a lot of my friends, and then I'm young, same age as everybody. So I'm young, just covering what's interesting and covering what my friends are doing. And that just so happens to be the drill movement. So I just so happened to be there when Bibby was still rapping and when Lil Herb was Lil Herb before he was G Herbo. So I just got in early because I was just there.
But were you somebody who was close to the streets before that, or were you more just interested in it from a musical perspective?
Like I said, my dad ended up moving us out of the urban area and we moved to the suburbs. But I still had that knack and that inkling for wanting to. It's some weird. I don't know if you know some people from the suburbs, they be wanting to still kind of go back and attach to. I think that I was still...
you're looking at one right here. I'm from the suburbs, but I was always interested in shit that was way grimier than my actual upbringing.
And what was that about?
Oh,
I know.
I mean, why wouldn't I be attracted to, violence and danger and exciting?
It just seems so much more real.
Right.
So I think just being around it and you know, indulging in it with people that I knew, it just naturally attracted me back to that kind of thing. And that was the hottest thing in the city before the whole world caught on to it. It was already like surging. And, you know, then the labels came and signed everybody, and the rest is history.
So how were you like networking and getting these early on interviews with people like Bibby and P. Rico and stuff like that?
It's funny because I was just attending. So I'm literally trying to be a media personality at the time. And I'm working as a traffic producer and reporter for iHeartMedia. And on the side, I'm going to all the events, all the rapper events, everything. Like when I interviewed Bibby, it was actually his mixtape release party for one of his biggest mixtapes that he actually has, like, in general. So I was there, and I was like one of the people to interview him, and it was like I just stayed on that path. And I realized it early on. I'm like, wow, even though the world hasn't caught on yet, I did a P. Rico interview before he went to jail, like way long ago, and it got over 100,000. And I'm like, dude, nobody is peeping this yet. But I'm already, you know, locked into it. So I just kind of like stayed on that lane because it was just naturally interesting to me. So. And
at this time, while you're covering it, is the Warren Chirac Academics is doing it too as well?
Yes. And you know what's funny about that? A lot of us were kind of like, who is this guy? Like, we were all really trying to figure out if he was from Chicago, how he knew people. Like, that was like the main question, because I think everyone was kind of tapped into it. Listening from the city, because he was just really animated. He had nicknames for everybody. And I think everyone was kind of trying to figure out who he was and how he knew everything. But at the same time, it was so serious, and it was such a, like, I could tell that he probably didn't live in Chicago, because you could never make light of what was going on. It was not funny. People were dying by the dozens. Like, that was just the most intense time for Chicago. People were dying, people were getting murdered. And it was nothing funny about it, especially if you live there. It was dangerous. So it's not something that I would ever get on YouTube and call anybody the Chirac Wolverine. Like, these are real people that I know. So it's
it kind of like takes an outsider to have like a lighthearted perspective on it.
Exactly. And that's how we knew he kind of wasn't from Chicago. Like, shout out to Academics, like, no diss, but I think that just living in Chicago, being there, it was too real to ever joke about. There's people dying constantly. So,
but even just talking about it in general, if you were just some kid from O Block making YouTube videos, I mean, you would have been very much in trouble. Like,
exactly.
There's just be so much you couldn't say, and people would be mad at you for even just talking about it in general. And realistically, you probably would have got beat up or killed or who knows what.
So do you think that you had it easier with you being a female doing it? Because at the same time, you had people like Zach TV and all these other bloggers who were probably having a hard time doing it. Did you come across any problems as a female that was doing it early on?
That's a good question. I think for me, I think there's just the energy that I gave off and just being able to connect with people on a real level. I've never had an issue. Never. Like, I've never, everyone's always respected me. I've always respected people. I've never had an issue. I've never been pressed. And I've been around every rapper from both sides, like from 600 Breezy to Duty Low. I've interviewed everybody from Mama Duck to Cash, FBG Cash. I've been on both sides, and no one's ever, like, I've been cool. Everything's been cool. I think it's the energy you bring, really.
You do have a respectable energy.
Thank you.
You don't have thought energy, to be honest. But like, you're telling me,
I want to talk about that too.
But you never had a rapper try to grab your ass, feel up on you, nothing like that even? Oh, okay. That you're used to. All right.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because honestly, my whole thing is, like, I love the Sexy Reds, I love the Young Miamis, and I think there's room for everybody, but I really want to be another example of, like, somebody that other, like young girls can look up to that's just different. I'm smart, I like books, I'm a journalist, I went to school, I went to Columbia, I got my degree in broadcasting, I love hood niggas, I love drill rap.
Wait, but you date hood dudes?
Not necessarily. I think that it just depends on who you gravitate towards, but I'm not objected to it. Like, I think I like covering different things that other people aren't necessarily talking about. I can go to CNN, and I can also go to Truth Teller. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I have a hard time imagining you dating a guy that's like down to do a drive-by. Just feels like you probably have a little bit too much sense. I mean, be just dealing with that, right?
Yeah.
There was a video where FBG Cash said he hit.
Oh my God. So you know what's funny about that?
That wasn't an immediate no.
First of all, I love Cash. Shout out to Cash. Rest in peace, Cash. But you know, it's funny because I talked to Cash about that certain situation for like hours. Like I used to talk to him about all kinds of things, and we used to have like really deep conversations because I'm like, every single rapper that I would end up interviewing, the comments would be like, oh, what did you guys do off? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why do they always say that? Like, what is it? So me and him had a whole conversation about that. And then him being the funny troll kind of guy he is, then he went on live and like laughed about it and tried to pretend like it was more than it was, but no. Like,
I mean, yeah, he was obviously he said he hit Angela Yee too.
Exactly. So you know
he was such
joking.
a troll in general. Remember him talking about like he said Lil Durk told him to go to the Vaughn Memorial and take photos there and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like and like I don't know. I probably should have like rejected it more when he said that during the interview, but he was always on some trolling.
He was trolling. He was funny. He was always like making you laugh and making you step out of your comfort zone. So he would always do that to me, like put me on the spot, try to make me step out of my comfort zone. And I appreciate that because sometimes I'm like so rigid and like too rigid. So he would just try to make me step out of my comfort zone. It was like me and him literally had a conversation about that for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, oh, these comments everybody always say. And then he went on live like,
And just
I'm like, I can't believe you just did. But it was like an inside joke and it was funny to us. So
Wait till you post a photo with me and read the comments.
Exactly.
Just
exactly.
wait. Yeah.
Do people do
We
that
could
to
jump
you?
in front of it right now by making a joke out of it, but it's gonna be a million comments of like, I know she's gonna be on Plug Talk. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do people do that to you?
Oh, for sure. Anytime I take a photo with a girl, I know that's coming. Yeah.
Because I was watching the Amber interview. Did they say that?
I feel like all the fans know that Amber Rose is too good to me, so I didn't really see a lot of that, but probably they would want that to happen, I guess. I would love for that to happen. That's a great idea.
Actually, let me ask you a question.
Here we go.
Because like with the content, what do you do when somebody tells you to take something down? Like how do you assess that? When they're like, you done did a 3-hour interview. You thought you were respectful. You sat down, you talked to them. Everything was cool. And then you put it up and they're like, take that down. What do you do?
3-hour interview. Why am I taking it down? Like, what's the reason? What is the thing that you didn't anticipate before this came out that you now are upset about? To me, that just shows no respect. It would really upset me. It would really like, I probably just wouldn't take it down unless it was something that was so obvious to me, like, oh, how, because I'm thinking about it now as we go. The other day I interviewed a girl and she starts talking crazy about her baby daddy, right?
Okay.
But she's also like, she's saying his name and where he works. And to me, it's like, it sounds like he's a private citizen. Like he's not like a celebrity.
Civilian?
He's just a regular fucking dude. And I really didn't like the idea of like, oh, is this guy's gonna have a bunch of people emailing the front desk where he works and telling them this girl's talking crazy about him. Now, same situation. If she's saying that about a rapper, I mean, that's a public figure. Like, you know what you're getting into. So I believe the dude's name. I don't know how much it would make a difference, but you know, I try to anticipate that kind of shit. If somebody says something that's obviously going to get them locked up or whatever, I'm going to be thinking about that and probably make a note of it before we even get into it. But yeah, taking a whole 3-hour interview down, probably not. It's probably not happening.
I know, and that's the thing. I think that
sometimes
happens.
you got to stand on business.
Exactly.
Because that has been you, I'm guessing. Because with you being from Chicago, I'm pretty sure there's been some interviews where like, yo, take this part out. I was incriminating myself.
100%. I mean, I'll give you an example of one that I really did take down because it was a dire situation. I did an interview with Duty Low and we ended up talking about the situation that he was in with the girl that lied.
Right.
Yeah. And we went into detail about that and they're still in litigation. So I ended up dropping
just won.
it. He just won.
I don't know if they're still in litigation.
Yeah.
Seems good.
I mean, dude, I always believed him. Like it was just a really bad situation. And
the accusations were so bizarre. It's just like,
weird.
am I supposed to really believe you're this fucking weird, bro? Like, I don't think so.
The screw.
Yeah, I'm not going for it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But in that situation, we talked about that, and they were still in litigation, and we put it out. And at the time, you know, it could have messed up his situation. So that was one that I retracted. But if it's something that you just like ended up saying something that you didn't like in the back end, it's like, dude, don't. You know,
the one that would piss me off is when Crip Mac wanted me to delete shit that would be like him talking about a girl. And then obviously they break up like 24 hours later, and he's like, take out this, and this about this girl. And I'm like, bro, like, what the fuck?
It's
Like, why are you trying to erase this? Like, you have tons of videos on your channel of you with this girl. Why are you trying to act like it didn't happen? Like, I found that shit really annoying.
It's kind of rude too, because it's like you not respecting, like.
I would never go on somebody's podcast and ask them to delete something that I willingly talked about. It's like completely foreign to me. Why would I do that? I'm thinking the whole time as I'm talking about what I want to be out there. Like, I don't know. But some people just, they get caught up in the moment. And you feel bad too, because some people are fucking knuckleheads straight off the block.
Crazy shit.
And they haven't thought about what it's like to be on camera. And, you know, if they're incriminating themselves, it can be very compelling to delete stuff, because nobody wants to be the reason somebody gets locked up.
Exactly.
You know? But
That's
also
different.
it's so unrealistic to think that the cops are going to lock you up because of something you said in an interview most of the time. But like, there are things here and there where you're like, yeah, I could see how that would be bad, you know?
Yeah,
I guess it's case by case, right?
Yeah.
So early on, I think you were one of the first people I seen to grab Tuka's mom and actually do an interview with her, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you?
Listen, we pulled that interview and that topic out the mud. Like, that came out of absolutely nowhere, because and I want to give a huge shout out to FBG Duck's mom, Sheena, Sheena Weekly.
Shout out Mama Duck.
Yeah, shout out Mama Duck. I love Mama Duck. And I just want to say this, like, she's probably the strongest person I've ever met. The amount of things that she went through and that she's gone through in her life,
Oh, for sure.
she has been able to withstand so many storms, and she's done an amazing job with a cheerful spirit and a good heart. The amount of things that she's been through, I don't know if you guys know. I mean, I'm sure you know. Like, even for just losing her son, who was a rising superstar, FBG Duck, just to have that happen, and now she's going through the trial. It's just, she's dealt with so much, and I just hate any kind of Mama Duck slander, only because she's dealt with so much. Like, why do you guys want to keep making her, like, I think we should just send her prayers and just give her, you know, as much grace as we can. Because imagine losing your son, 2 sons.
And she's lost like infants and like house fires
That's
and
what I'm
shit
saying.
like that. That was like, whoa, you've really seen some of the worst things that you could possibly see in life.
She's been through so much. She's like I said, she's like the strongest person that I've ever met. I'm like, I can't even believe that you have been through all of this and you're still standing and you're still able to talk about everything and go through everything. It's just, so I just like to, you know, try to just give her as much grace as possible. And
She introduced you to Tuka's mom?
yes, so honestly, it's so funny. I ended up interviewing Mama Duck before everything, before all of this happened. I think me and her might have sat down maybe a couple weeks after FBG Duck actually got killed. So I was one of her first interviews, and after we did that, she was like, I want to bring the mothers together. I want to bring mothers from both sides, and I want to stop this violence. So she was the first person to try to create peace.
Push the peace.
Yeah, to push. Mama Duck was the first person to push the peace, and she asked me to help her. So it was like, she was like, my friend is Tuka's mom. I'm like, Tuka, you know what I mean? And she was like, and I got this mom, and I want to bring everybody together.
And I did the round table, right?
And we did the round table. So we brought Tuka's mom, her, Ray Ray's mom, which is another kid that ended up dying. And we all sat around the table and we just talked. And that was the first time in 10 years that Tuka's mom ever got the opportunity to talk about how she was just so upset that everybody was smoking on Tuka. And everybody was smoking on Tuka. Like, do you remember?
Yeah, no, it was
like,
a huge trend.
It was crazy.
Nationwide. A lot of people who didn't even know what the fuck they were talking about. You know.
It was like intense. So imagine she's a mom and she's just at home hearing this, seeing this, and she's just tired and she's outraged. So it was all Sheena's idea. It was all Mama Duck's idea, and I just really helped her. I brought everything together, and we all sat down, and we interviewed each mom separately first. So we have Tuka's mom, and she was pregnant at the time. So everybody in the comments like, why you didn't give her a seat? She's pregnant. Dude, it was like a 5-minute separate interview first, and then we all sat down at the table, and she just cried her heart out, and it just broke my heart, and I didn't even know it was gonna go like that. Like, she started crying. And I was just like, oh my God, this is really going to be something. But I didn't know it was going to go as viral as it went completely viral, to the point where all these other outlets came in and kind of like tried to duplicate what we did, which is cool. I think, like I said, the only thing that was annoying about that is just like when we do something in Chicago, we're still trying to build ourselves as a media hub. So it's like acknowledge the people that did it first.
That's from Chicago.
That's from Chicago, and try to pour it back in some way, but it didn't happen like that. But it's okay. I think that I wasn't really looking for anything from it. I was just trying to help tell the story, and it did that. So it was amazing.
That's the crazy thing if you're like a smaller media company these days, is that you could do dope content, and a lot of times it's going to get kind of copied by bigger platforms like me and Remo over here, no jumper, or realistically that shit is going to get clipped. Like there was a podcast the other day with fucking Joe Smith and his wife who started the OnlyFans. And they both walked out of the same podcast, and the clip was super viral on Twitter, and I went and found it on YouTube and had like 50K. So this shit has, 100 million views across Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and shit, and such a small percentage actually went and watched the video, which that's tough. Like when I started doing podcasts, that wasn't really a thing. People weren't just clipping shit and putting it all over Twitter and every other social network. So it's kind of even harder now to really get a thing going.
It is. It's really hard, and like, I know certain outlets kind of copyright their shit and try to like make sure that they watch it. Do you copyright your stuff? Like, do you let smaller outlets use your clips?
We don't let like YouTube channels post full, versions of our shit, but like in terms of Instagram, we're not looking for that. But I know Vlad is all over it. And sometimes I think that he's doing the smart thing, and maybe I should get a little bit more on top of it, but I don't know.
I guess it just depends on how you feel. Because sometimes I'm like cool with people sharing it because it's like, okay, it's bringing more eyeballs. But then if it gets crazy and you're missing out on monetization to pour back into your own, then it gets a little
tricky.
Because like the difference between fair use and copyright infringement is basically like, is this basically a duplicate? Like, is this going to stop people from going to my content? And my thing is like, if you want, like even the Chicago Wave, they asked me one time like, how much are you cool with us posting? And I was like, if you want to do a 60-second clip instead of like a 5-minute clip, I would appreciate it. Just do like a shorter version of it, and maybe don't do every single interesting thing that we talked about in the podcast. Maybe pick a couple of them out because I appreciate you drawing attention to it. But at a certain point, if you're making it so that there's no reason for people to go to my content, that feels like it's a different thing, right?
Exactly. And I think this is an important conversation because I think a lot of content creators will gravitate to what we're saying, especially with the thought process of like whether you should take something down or keep it. I think a lot of people go through that because we get pressured and by different rappers to play their narrative sometimes, and it's like, no, we don't. That's not how it goes. But shout out to the Chicago Wave too. That's one of like the most unbiased. That's a good place. That's a good place to go to get Chicago Wave. Yeah, sure. Shout out to Chicago Wave.
I want to go back to the roundtable though, because you said you reached out to people. At the time, y'all didn't get any of the opposition's mothers at the table.
We didn't.
How come you guys wasn't able to get someone to come through? Because I seen LA Come Home mom talk about it, and she said that she wasn't comfortable with it.
And like, Mama Duck told us a crazy story about taking a picture with King Von's kid, right? And then having to remove it, basically being told to remove it.
Yes.
Which is kind of dark.
What's funny? We tried every angle. We tried to bring all the moms together, but we got a lot of declines. I think.
Who did you reach out to?
We reached out to everybody. We reached out to King Von's mom. We reached out to.
But at this time, that was early on.
This was the first.
The first one. And
yes.
King Von he was in jail?
No, that was we did the Mothers of Peace. Maybe it was like 2 weeks after King Von got killed.
All right, for sure.
Or maybe it was even a week. I have to double check because it's been already like 2 years since that. But of course, it was too fresh probably for her to want to. You know what I mean? And then we did a number 2, and I actually haven't dropped the full thing. I'm actually gonna drop it next week, the full thing. But it was L.A. Capone's mom, which was from the other side. And if you know the drill history, her son actually dropped one of the biggest drill songs with the line, Shondell, how that hot shit feel. Shondell is Tuka.
Yeah.
And she was at the table with Tuka's mom. So they actually had an exchange where they talked about that.
And this is unreleased?
Yes, it hasn't been released yet. I'm going to drop it soon.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be fire.
So
I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
But at the time for the first one, what other mothers did you reach out to? I'm just curious.
We reached out to King Von's mom. We reached out to a lot of different moms. But mostly we really wanted to try to get Mama Duck with King Von's mom. but
Yeah,
we
it
weren't
was-
able to do that.
Did
So-
you get any kind of reason why, or just the obvious shit that they probably
No, we didn't. I
get
think
blowback?
Yeah, I think that, people just probably weren't ready for that. And it's hard. And that's why I say Mama Duck's one of the strongest people I know, because
She was ready to do it, right?
yeah, it's like, imagine, having to take on all of this. This is not easy.
So how did you and Mama Duck get so close in the first place initially?
When I interviewed her, I was probably one of the first people that reached out and actually sat down with her, and we had like a 2-hour long interview.
Yeah.
And my heart just broke. Like, it's hard because I'm a female covering this drill stuff. So it's like I have a little bit more, I think, emotions. I have a little bit more emotions with it. So just talking to her for 2 hours and talking about the death of FBG Duck and her crying, and then just like us crying together, like I just couldn't. It was just really sad. And then from there, it's just like, and I'm super unbiased. I'm a journalist. I'm unbiased. I have friends on both sides. But when it comes down to a loss of a mother, it's just something in me where I'm just like, oh my God, it was just so heart-wrenching. And I just wanted to help her in any way. And we just kept building on our relations from there. And it's like, at the time, a lot of business opportunities were coming to her, so I was helping her with her, like, as a publicist and stuff like that. So we just kept building on our relationship. And just shout out to Mama Duck. And then when the Mothers of Peace came, that was a big thing, and we just kept building on that, and we're going to continue to build on the Mothers of Peace thing. So
I've seen that you've actually been going to the actual FBG Duck trial.
yes.
Have you been going with Mama Duck, or give us a breakdown of what you've been seeing in court?
Well, I will tell you something that happened today. And we actually haven't done a video on this yet, and we haven't talked about this yet. This just happened a couple hours ago. And a lot of people don't know this because, like I said, I think now a couple more bloggers have been going to the courthouse, but I was the first one to go. And I got the information from Mama Duck, and she's, and I'm a reporter. Like I said, I'm an unbiased journalist. I'm just unbiased. I just want to cover what's going on. So when I first went, I literally just made a video and reported on what happened. And the day that I went, it happened to be the day that Trench's News was there. And I know you guys had him up here, and I want to get your thought process on that.
Little rat boy.
So that was the day that Trench's News was there, and they played video that everybody was kind of speculating about, because they had video of them leaving O Block, running down the stairs, hopping in a car, and they had video of them coming back. So no one ever saw the video. That's the first time they ever played the video. So we're in court looking at the video, and I'm just like, oh my God, they got all this video. And then Trench's News is pointing everybody out with a yellow marker. Yeah. So they're like, who is this? So he's like, oh, that's Kenny Mack. And then they're like, who is this? They're like, oh, that's C Murder. And then they're like, who is this? Oh, that's Muwap. And then they're making him circle it with the yellow marker. So it was just great. Like, to be sitting there and just looking at this, I'm like, wow. And I think that a lot of the mainstream media hasn't been following the trial like how they've been following the Thug trial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just a pristine opportunity.
Because everybody feels like we already know exactly what happened.
Is
and
that
we kind
what
of
it is?
assume that they're going to convict these dudes. Whereas with the Thug thing, it seems like a very real possibility they won't get convicted, and nobody really knows what's going to happen in that courtroom. Whereas, like, Trench's News being in there is super insane. But in general, I feel like everybody kind of feels like they know what happened with Duck.
And it's like he's a blogger, like, on the stand as their key witness. So
Yeah.
You said something happened today?
yeah. So basically, and this is an exclusive. No one's said anything yet. They have video of the person that called. Allegedly, the person that called everybody to come. They have him on camera, like surveillance camera from the store, because he was in a store across the street, making the phone call, telling them, like, just hyping it up, making it more of a like he had the ends on the whole situation. So let me shut up. He called. They have it on camera, and Mama Duck watching that. She just lost it.
Really?
Yeah.
She just lost it. She started crying, started screaming. They had to take her out of the courtroom. And they took her to the back like, listen, can't do that. It might cause a mistrial. Like, calm down. Do you need to like watch it from the other room? Because they have another like watching room.
Yeah.
So it was just really intense. It's like a lot of stuff going on. And that's why I say, like, imagine if your son was killed and you have to sit through trial.
And see the evidence.
That's what I'm saying.
Witness how it happened and how it played out.
You're
that
watching
could be tough.
it unfold every day.
I can imagine why that would hit her particularly hard, because it's like somebody just like celebrating in the opportunity to kill her son.
Yeah, he like, doot, 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 doot.
Yeah, it's like an additional layer of cruelty beyond just the fact that these dudes were down to kill him, you know?
Exactly. And she's watching it like play out. So it's breaking her heart, and she just couldn't hold it together today. And, you know, she's
watching 20-something years of potential and just a whole life being taken over.
And Duck was taking off at the time.
Yeah.
So imagine that. Like, I'm not sure. You don't have kids yet, right?
3-year-old.
Oh, you do? Okay, so God
Not a
forbid.
drill rapper yet. We've got a little RT career plan
20
for
years.
her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 20 years.
20 years?
You got
23?
to start your drill career young now. You got to be 9. Putting ops in the split.
You guys had a little retweet.
Retweet. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was on here.
How's he?
I said I wasn't interviewing him, but Flacco wanted to do it.
A little RT?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it RT or retweet?
I like it being a little retweet. I haven't heard that before.
That's
what I thought.
That's great. Yeah.
So yeah, her having to just deal with that is a lot. So I give her grace. And it's like, I hate when people try to come at her. Leave her alone. She's been through too much.
Did you actually see Butter on the stand? They say Butter was on
I
the stand
didn't.
too.
I actually I had prior engagements in New York. I live in New York, so
All right.
but I'm from Chicago, and I still have I still come there and have a little spot there, so I come back and forth. But I didn't go there at that time.
was
And
that a
thank
thing?
God, because I heard a bunch of bloggers were up there causing mayhem.
Really?
That's what I heard, but I wasn't there, so I don't want to speak.
But did you hear about did he really take the stand? I heard he took the stand.
Yes.
So he
2
did.
days. I heard in 2 days in a row.
Yeah, there's a bunch of quotes from different shit he said on
Yeah,
there and
for
stuff.
sure.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about them having Trenches News and Butter as their key witnesses? What do you guys think?
Me
I love
personally,
it. I think this is great.
Super hip-hop, right?
I could have never even thought of this. If you asked me to come up with a plot for this trial, I wouldn't have been able to predict this.
I didn't think Butter would take the stand, but when I interviewed Trenches News in my mind, I already thought he was the snitch already.
Did you?
When
What were the flags?
He knew
I just-
early on. Because go watch our interview where he asked him if he was the informant, and it's just the weirdest like roundabout thing, like where he's just kind of not answering the question, just kind of dancing around it, and Remo's trying to corner him, but he's just saying some bullshit. Whereas he's pretty direct about everything else throughout the whole interview, which is it was very strange.
Yeah, people tell me shit, and then from just the questions I asked him early on in the interview, and he never gave me a direct answer. So then when I asked him again to end the video off, it kind of just confirmed me, like, all right, yeah, you did it. Because if anybody else, you would have just been like, nah, I didn't do it. Like, and for him just to just not say it, I was like, oh yeah, you did it.
Yeah,
Actually, his homeboy C Hood hit me up, said he wants to come on here because he was lying to C Hood the whole time, and C Hood had no clue that he was the informant.
Shout out C Hood.
Shout out C, and he shot C Hood out in every video.
intro.
Wow.
But he didn't, not recently. The last few videos he did, he hasn't shouted out C Hood. And I also seen where you said that the judge told Trenches News not to make any videos.
Oh yeah,
But he's back making videos.
because he's done. So like
all
they let him off now so he can make videos because he's done. So during the time where he was on the stand, they were like, listen, you can literally throw this case if you get on YouTube and you make any videos. You can't do any interviews. They wanted somebody to trail him and make sure that he didn't do anything before, because it was like a Thursday that he had his first testimony, and then he had to come back again on Monday. So there was all these days in between, and they were scared that he was about to, because he be making content.
Yeah,
For sure.
And they actually acknowledged the fact that he makes content and it's popular. Like they were talking about it in the courtroom. So
probably got some subs from that. I noticed that our clips with him talking about that surged in views. Like a lot of people were searching for it.
and the crazy thing is, like, I'd never said anything bad about Trenches because he's been nothing but like nice. Like he ain't ever did nothing to me.
Yeah.
But it's like, the whole situation is just really crazy and it's really intense.
I mean, he dissed us right as soon as he did the interview, and they dissed us right afterwards.
What
So
did
it's
he
Trenches
say?
News K. Fuck y'all. No, I mean, I don't care. But, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
What did he say?
Just he regret doing the interview.
He's like,
a whole lot of
that interview was weak as fuck.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't
Really?
know why I went up there. I wish I didn't go up there. Like, I don't know what. Like, you literally do videos in your fucking basement, like in your room.
just think
like, what are you talking about?
He don't like how it was titled or whatever.
Oh,
But
okay.
how do you how do you feel? Like, are you with snitching or against snitching? With
Listen.
Because like, all right, at the end of the day, you're friends with Mama Duck. So you want her to get justice for her son, but then you come from Chicago where it's this don't snitch shit.
That's
Snitch
a really
County.
good. That's a really good question because honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I'm gonna be 100% honest.
Keep it 100.
I'm gonna keep it 100,
Keep it 1,000. actually.
1,000, a
Yeah.
million. Okay?
Whoa.
For sure.
Keep it a Google.
A Google. Okay. Just working in this environment and studying all of these stories and interviewing all these people, dude, nobody is innocent. It's been murders on each side. This person did this person got back at this person
Yeah.
got back. It's no innocent side. So it's like impossible for you to take a side because if you're really into it, you know the intricate details that don't even hit the internet. You know what such and such did to such and such. You know this and this and this. It's like, dude, you can't pick a side. Everybody is wrong. This whole entire beef is insane, and it keeps going, and it's going a tit for tat, a tit for tat, a tit for. It's like, dude, you can't even really stop. I mean, it's like everybody has done wrong. Everybody is wrong. And I think that this was just such the ultimate, like, this was the most unnecessary. Everybody was taking off. Duck was taking off. Moab was doing his music thing. King Von was doing his music thing. Dirk is who Dirk is. Like, everybody was taking off. So it was kind of like, why? Like, to me, I feel like it was just so unnecessary. And I just don't think... It was just so, like, Duck should have been here.
So are you with snitching or against snitching?
I'm against snitching. When
sure.
you get into this game, as a blogger and as a radio personality, as a blogger and as a reporter,
Yeah.
rappers have a certain trust in you. And if you build up this trust with people and you're talking to them and you have this like rapport with people, you can't just go back and start snitch. That's insane. And I think it makes all of us look like, I mean, honestly, this is just a case-by-case basis, but for it to be a blogger that just turned state's evidence is crazy. And as a blogger, it's just like, damn.
How does Mama Duck feel? Is she happy that Trenches News is actually helping
Of
maybe
course.
her get justice?
I think so. Yeah, I think, and then he was also friends with Duck. So it's just, this is like a very, very different and special situation.
Okay, but if we all agree that it's probably a good thing if a bunch of murderous psychopaths who are happy to gun down your favorite rapper are locked up, I think we should all probably agree that if you run down on somebody in front of a designer store and kill them
Broad
because
daylight.
of your gang beef with them, you should probably go to jail. All Trenches News did, to his credit, is basically help facilitate these people going to jail. And as much as in a lot of situations, I hate to see people get snitched on, you know, like if I found out that Remo was selling coke at the club and somebody snitched on him, I'd be upset. But when it comes to something as serious as this, it's hard for me to really say that what Trenches News did is wrong. It might have just been self-serving in the sense that, you know, he basically just did it to enrich himself. But at the same time, if he was really cool with Duck and he wanted to see his killers locked up, I mean, I can't really hold it against him, right?
Exactly. So it's like this is such a touchy situation and such a mixed kind of thing where I can't even, I guess it just depends on what you would do in a situation. You can't say it's right or wrong because like in his eyes, he's helping the Duck case. And even though he might have been friends with the people that he's testifying against.
Yeah, he pointed Kenny Mack out like 7 times.
Yeah. 7 times
said that was his
with the
boy.
yellow marker.
If the person who was snitching was like the guy who drove the car when they went to go kill Duck, then we could all look at that guy and say like, oh, you're a scumbag because you were a part of this criminal conspiracy and now you're talking in order to take the heat off you and you're making it worse for all your buddies. Trenches News, you can't really say that.
Exactly.
He's totally separate from all this shit.
Exactly. I think it's just more of a shock thing. I think
Yeah.
when they put it in the Sun Times and they like unmasked him and put him, you know, in the paper, I think people were just really surprised about it. But like I said, I have nothing against Trenches News. I can't really say right or wrong on the situation because everything is just so convoluted and everybody is wrong and right at the same time.
I don't know if he was being 100% serious, but I asked WAG 100, like, how many people in Southern California are getting paid those sort of checks, the $25,000 checks, to basically give informant information to the cops? He goes, probably 1,000. I think he said like 500 to 1,000. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? There's that many people talking to the cops and helping put these cases together. Like, that's unbelievable if that's true.
I
But,
think it's definitely more than we know.
Yeah, probably, because it's obviously in their best interest to keep it mega secret.
But what does that do for bloggers and reporters and rapper relationships?
You got to get our own informants. If I was Trapper Ross or if I was Swamp Stories and I wanted to take my content to the next level, all you need is a fucking snitch.
How would you play that though?
Take the information they give you and write about it, and hopefully the guy doesn't get caught. If he gets caught, then I guess they're gonna kill him. But
Right. So what's the next step? Like, what happens after the case is over?
To Trench's News?
Yeah.
This motherfucker better get a spot
I
in
think he's
Vegas
leaving
like King
Chicago.
Yella or something. I don't know. Get away from Chicago is
What
my
happened
advice
with
to
King
him.
Yella and 10 Jake today?
Hold on, before we get into that.
Okay,
Are you
let's
still?
go back to
Are you still? Are you going to be covering the case anymore? Like going back?
I am. I'm actually gonna drop a video tonight about what I just told you guys.
Yeah.
I am. I think that it's just in my heart. Like certain things, I just want to make sure that I cover it and I report it the right way, and I have the opportunity to go there and cover it. So I think I'm gonna continue to. I'm gonna watch it until the verdict comes out.
Yeah.
It's just a very important case, even though, like I said, media isn't covering it like they're covering the Tory case, or but they should be. And I think a lot of it has to do with it being in Chicago. People don't know how to navigate the city like how they might in other places. Because where was the Tory case? In LA?
Yeah, but I mean, the Tory case had like every salacious angle you could possibly
That's
have.
true.
Whereas the Duck thing, really, at the end of the day, it's just another depressing ass Chicago drill rapper murder, of which there have been dozens or hundreds.
Are
over
they
the
gonna
years,
play
you
the
know?
This one is
footage?
crazy because
Yeah.
it was broad daylight in the richest area. Like this is. Have you ever been to the Gold Coast?
I think I know. Yeah, that
It is
area.
like he got killed across the street from Dolce and Gabbana.
Yeah.
This is the richest, and Chicago's the third largest market. So even though it doesn't get that much love, it's what? New York, LA, Chicago. So Chicago, but like I said, people are not flying to Chicago to cover it like that. So
Yeah,
I just have the advantage.
And there's
left.
so little money put into like local news and like covering
Exactly.
stories and shit in general that it's just like unlikely to happen. I wanted to ask before we do the King Yella shit or whatever, why'd you move to New York? What are you doing out there?
So that's a good question. I ended up reaching, I think, the level of, and I've watched the interview with shout out 16. I think that when you work in Chicago and you get to a certain level, you probably feel like you need to leave. That's like the myth. Like, okay, I gotta leave Chicago to get on. And I think that I've had a little bit of that. I just always wanted to live in New York, and I always had that love for it. So I worked at iHeartMedia as a traffic reporter for 4 years. And I finally realized that I was never going to be on WGCI, and I wasn't going to get that to that point. So I was just really trying to leave, and I wanted to go to New York for some reason. It was just like in my heart, I wanted to go to New York. And I ended up just taking every opportunity that I could. So there was a radio personality that I used to obsess over. Like, I just used to love him, and he's a legend. I don't know if I want to say the name,
Say
but
the
you'll
name.
probably get it. No. Like,
Star?
hell no.
What, it went bad
Not
or
hell
something?
no, but hey,
why don't you want to give him any attention?
No, it's not even that. It's more about like the way that it went down, because I ended up not. Should I say this? And
Air
I'm
it
gonna
out.
fucking
Let's get
regret it.
spicy. You won't regret it. Think about what people
It's
like.
your story.
People watch baddies.
I know. What is that about?
I don't know, but I'm saying people like drama. I watched one episode of Baddies and it really fucked me up.
I learned everything about baddies from Instagram. So I know about Rolly.
I paid for Zeus. And
Oh,
so
did
far I
you?
watched one episode of Baddies, yeah.
It's kind of like Bad Girls Club back in the day.
Yeah, but I never watched that.
Did you? Didn't? Okay. Because I used to watch the original Natalie Young when I was like too young to watch that.
Okay, who hurt you?
See, it wasn't even a hurt situation. Basically, I just really wanted to move to New York. Like, I was so dedicated, and I really wanted to move to New York. I got to the height of working at iHeartMedia for 4 years as a traffic producer and reporter. And I just really wanted to leave Chicago. So I was trying to take every opportunity I could. And I ended up printing out my resume and going to this like event where this legendary radio personality was. And I was like, I'm going to give him my resume. I'm going to, you know what I mean?
Fun flex.
Nope. I will say. And I went there and I gave him and I tried to like talk to him, he paid me dust. He was just, so I was like sad. I'm like, oh, and I was leaving and I gave it to somebody that was working the cameras. I was like, can you just give him this? And tell him like, I want to move to New York and I'm already kind of established here. And at the time I was already interviewing Bibby and Herb and everybody in Chicago. So I'm already working I'm already in the Chicago mix and I'm already working at iHeartMedia and everything's cool and I wanted to leave. And I ended up giving it to his manager, his program director. Yeah. And like he called me 3 weeks later and was like, wow, your resume is great. If you really want to move to New York, you can help me build this social media video thing that we're doing. Because that was at the beginning of all the video when people were just starting to do video. So I was like, bet. In 2 weeks, I put my apartment up. I sold all my stuff. I packed my car up, and I drove a Nissan Altima to New York by myself. It took me 21 hours. It was supposed to be 14. It took me 20. By myself, I found my apartment on Craigslist. Yeah. And I moved out there, and he really ended up giving me like a part-time job, and that's how I got out the mud. Like I literally started working and just helping him shoot videos, and then in between, he would let me do interviews, and that was at SiriusXM. So
DJ
Sway.
Shout out to Reggie Hawkins. He ended up just helping me establish myself in New York at the beginning. So
Sway is Reggie Hawkins?
No. The Sway was Reggie was the program director at
okay. So you're still not telling us who the on-camera personality was.
Because I never ended up connecting with him.
Oh. But you had a part-time job, but
I ended up helping like the video stuff at Hip Hop Nation SiriusXM, like helping them shoot their videos, and then in between I was doing like interviews. Mm-hmm. So I ended up interviewing a whole bunch of people up there. Like I did Meek Mill, Boosie, all kinds of different people. And I literally, like I said, I packed up all my stuff and drove to New York from Chicago. So it was like taking those big opportunities. Yeah. And I really just kept taking those big opportunities. And then I was doing that for 2 years. And then I ended up meeting some people that knew Diddy.
Because you ended up on Revolt.
Yes. And that's how I ended up at Revolt.
How do you feel about working for Diddy now? With all the allegation he has.
You ever go to a party?
You know what? I've been to hella parties.
Oh, shut up.
I'm not lying.
You got a story to tell?
I do. But you know what? It's not about Diddy. It's not about Diddy. I do got a bunch of stories.
If you could laugh about it, then it's probably a good story. Because it seems as if there's a bunch of people who aren't really laughing about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I'm going to tell you the honest to God truth. Like, I'm going to tell you, this is my truth. And I can't speak about anybody else, but this is my truth. Working for Revolt TV and working for Diddy for 2 years was absolutely life-changing. Like, it was the best experience I've ever had. It was the best job I've ever had. I learned excellence through him. And I can't really speak on all the negative stuff because my personal experience with Diddy and working at Revolt TV was the best. That was the best job I've ever had. It was the best time of my life. I had the best time of my life. I learned so much. He let us do anything. You just had to stand on it. So if you did something and it ended up being a flop or it wasn't good, you had to stand on it. But if you did something and it was good, you got all the praise. And
but Diddy was really involved with Revolt? Like,
yes.
Really?
At the time he was. We had meetings where he was sitting at the head of the table. And I have like footage of it where he was just really there. He wasn't always involved. Like, obviously we had people that were in between.
There's a lot of, rap personalities that get involved with media companies, and then it really kind of like, what do you think Nas is doing at Mass Appeal? I'm assuming not a lot. Right.
And it was like, there were certain times where he wasn't attached, but like when I was there, it would be like he would be at the office and they would let us know like, Diddy's coming next week. Make sure you're dressed right. You can't drink like anything besides his water. It was only tequila, like his brand. We only could drink Ciroc, like that.
Because, like, to be fair to Diddy, like, even if he does have this dark side to him or whatever, I mean, obviously there's something about him that has kept him successful as fuck in the music business for like 30 years now. And it's kind of silly to like erase his contribution and how incredible he apparently is as a businessman just because of what realistically at this time, it may be quite disturbing what has been alleged, but it's a handful of people making allegations. So
Exactly.
let's watch how the cookie crumbles from here, you know?
And I'm actually excited to be able to tell a positive part. I know y'all probably don't want to hear the spicy, stuff, but honestly, I could say he gave me an opportunity of a lifetime. It was a dream to work at Revolt TV. I'm not even kidding you. Like, just to even see the way that he put the whole thing together and for it to be this media hub of like people that were creative and we got to make content and cover events. It was such a small team. It was probably like 20. It was so small in the New York office. And I ran their social media and I got to do interviews, I got to write articles, and I got to do anything. You just had to stand on it. So if it flopped, you were out of there. There's a lot of people that got fired. It was very cutthroat. I learned perfection. I learned how to make use with nothing because it wasn't glamorous. Like we didn't get paid anything crazy. But if you were in it like an ambitious person, you made something out of nothing, and that was me. I came from Chicago on the north side, so I was ready. Like somebody that moved from Chicago in their Altima that drove by themselves to get a job like that and to work for Diddy. I was like running out the park, and I got to do one of the biggest interviews that's on Revolt TV YouTube right now. It has like 4.5 million, and this was my childhood friend. This girl that I grew up with. She ended up catching HIV in Atlanta. She met this guy. She caught HIV in Atlanta, and he lied to her about a whole bunch of stuff, and she caught HIV, and then she found out that he was just like spreading it.
He was a booty goon?
He might have been. I think when we look back on it, I think she kind of came to the realization that he might have been kind of like dibbling and dabbling in the booty.
I mean, if you're in Atlanta and you have AIDS, it seems like a pretty decent, decent chance.
Well, I learned that AIDS is the evolution. It starts off as HIV, then.
Okay.
Yeah. So
she's still in good health. She's doing all right.
She's okay because now I think that the medical, like you're okay, like you can live. I think she might even be zero. I have to do an update with her actually because it has 4.5. It became like a cult classic on the Revolt TV YouTube channel. But that was just like my childhood friend, and they authorized me to do that and funded me to do that, and it became something big. So
how'd your time at Revolt come to an end?
That's a good question. I'm gonna tell you a story off the camera because I feel like I signed NDAs. I can't tell that story, but
NDAs are very hard to enforce.
Are they?
And realistically, you probably don't have enough money that they're gonna sue you and try to take whatever you have. It would cost a lot more legal wise for them to try to get whatever out of you.
Really?
Well, I'm not gonna push you too hard, but yeah, realistically, yeah.
So there was two offices. There was the New York office and there was the LA office. And I will say that it was very competitive. Like it was a constant competition between both of the offices.
Yeah.
Like it would be like, who's doing better? Who's doing, you know what I mean? So it came down to a money thing. Diddy was investing in a whole different show at the time. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a show called State of the Culture.
Oh yeah,
I remember.
Joe Budden thing. I was almost on that show.
Shut up.
Yeah.
What was going to be your role?
White guy that sat on the couch and got picked on by Scotty Beam, realistically. This was before I knew who was going to be on it or whatever. I had some meetings with Joe, and I was just like, I can't move to New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so they blew the budget. Like that show was huge. Like they spent so much money on that show.
Yeah.
So
it was
that
overproduced too.
Well,
And it never got
you
that
said
big.
it. I won't say anything. But they were really trying to rival.
Everyday Struggle.
Yep.
Mm.
And he
And then
would tell us that all the time. Like
He started it at almost the exact time as Everyday Struggle too.
no,
right?
well, what he did was he let academics take all the money that Everyday Struggle offered him, and he said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go over there with Diddy because Diddy offered him some money." So then he thought, "All right, I'm gonna just recreate Everyday Struggle with Revolt," and it just backfired. So then academics and Everyday Struggle fell off, and then
Everyday
that
Struggle
show.
or State of the Culture never really had like a good
Never
host
really even
dynamic.
had a-
And there was no chemistry. And then
What do you
meanwhile,
think it was?
But then you compared that to the Joe Budden podcast at the time. That was amazing chemistry, and it's just two random fucking buddies of his. Where I was like, with State of the Culture, they like handpicked all these different people. Didn't really work.
big lights.
It's hard to really like.
I think
Big
it was
production.
way too overproduced.
hard
and
to
I
engineer
think-
that shit.
I just think the Joe Budden and academics dynamic just made more sense because he's from the old school, academics from the new school, so it just kind of meshed well.
They had
Like
a lot
the
of
State
people who
Culture,
checked
man.
boxes, you know, like Remy Ma. Remy Ma and Joe Budden
old
sounds
school.
like a good show, right? But then in reality, if nobody's really going crazy trying to put their takes together and everything. It's just, it's hard to fake that. And that was back then. Nowadays, it's even harder to fake the chemistry and to get people to watch just a random group of people talking to each other. It's just tough.
It's almost better to do an organic, like, not cheap, but like something super basic. Sometimes I think stuff that's too overproduced is not like doesn't work. Because if we go to TikTok and think about it, a mom in her kitchen making a video can get 1 million views, and something that's super overproduced will not perform.
Academics' opinions about the culture go more viral than anybody, and it's literally him in a fucking
basement.
room, shitty ass little camera.
Yeah.
It's like the worst quality shit. And then
You
even
can
like
hardly see him.
And Joe Budden's the other person who consistently goes viral for his opinions, and it's like it's a nice nice space that they're in, but it's still a bunch of people sitting on a couch. Like, what fucking production do you really need? You know?
Exactly. So I think sometimes less is more. Don't they say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they definitely said that.
So you went from iHeartMedia to Revolt, and then you're still currently at Complex?
I am. So, okay, let me, so yeah, their focus ended up really being on state of the culture. And like I said, there was 2 offices and then this big, huge show with a big, huge budget. And like, we were always in competition with each other. So long story short, they ended up shutting the New York office down. So boom.
Because of COVID or because of what?
No, this was before COVID.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It was just more of they just had more of their attention on the State of the Culture show. And that was like a big production with celebrity budgets and payroll.
But wasn't
So
that shot in New York? So why shut down the New York offices?
it actually, I'm not sure if they shot, I think maybe it was shot in New York, yeah.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I think that just having a lot of people on payroll at the time probably wasn't conducive to having, and then having all these big celebrities on this big show.
And it's also like this
Remy
was
Ma
a
took the
time
budget.
in which Revolt and Complex or whoever were experimenting with building out podcasts and paying a bunch of money to big name, performers to have on there and stuff. And realistically, I mean, Everyday Struggle wasn't profitable. There's absolutely no way State of the Culture was profitable. It's like when the holy grail is to make a show that gets like 300K on YouTube every week or whatever. I mean, that's it's going to cost you a lot to like engineer that. And unless you get big advertisers, and a lot of hip hop content is not advertiser friendly.
Right. And then they were airing the show on the TV station. And you know, TV.
Well, that's another revenue stream. It might have made it more valuable to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So they ended up shutting down the New York office. So that's basically what happened. They shut down the New York office. They, centralized everything to New York. And the people that were left producing the show were in a WeWorks. So it was pretty much like the end of the New York. And Diddy lived in LA. So
And you don't see
hardly-
Complex or Revolt trying to do that shit anymore so
I don't
much,
know,
right?
like you said, I don't know if it's
It's hard to make it work.
I don't know if it's profitable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up I worked there for 2 years. So like I said, I learned excellence. Like I can't say anything bad about Diddy. It was I had the best time of my life. That was my dream job. I mean, like he gave us the opportunity to really create something, and he never got in our way. He was just like, go ahead.
But so what do you do at Complex now?
So after they shut down the New York office,
They got absorbed by BuzzFeed or bought by BuzzFeed.
I moved over to Complex. So I started working at Complex right after I left Revolt TV. And like I said, I would have never had those opportunities if it wasn't for Diddy. So it's hard for me to see all of this stuff because obviously, it's all in the media and stuff like that. But I'd be like, he gave me the opportunity. African, chubby, dark-skinned African girl from the north side of Chicago. He gave me the opportunity to make something bigger, and I did that. And so I moved over to Complex, and I've been there for 5 years. It's gonna be 5 years in January.
What's the state of Complex?
See, and I can't really speak too much on that because I'm still there.
Yeah.
So I can't really speak too much.
Yeah. I don't want to get you in trouble, so I won't get into it. But it doesn't seem like things are at the best stage that they've ever been in. But we're kind of seeing that's just a reality check for media. Is that you can't just cut huge fucking checks to all these different people and put shows together and put it on YouTube and have it be a successful business model.
Yeah, well, what I can say, I've been there. I've been there for 5 years. I do the news, so like the social media, the news page, Complex News. I'm like the Complex News digital editor, and it's been great. Like it's been really cool to just learn from people that have these big shows like JLP with sneaker shopping. And it's just cool to see all of that and to see like the possibilities of what it could be. So it's been really, eye-opening and great for me to just learn and work at a place like that. It's coming up on 5 years, like I said.
What's his name? Joe LaPuma?
Yeah.
So we were just watching it with Young Boy, and it's pretty funny because it's like a 10-minute video, and in the very beginning of the video, Young Boy basically says, like, you talking too much, like fully shuts him up. And then by the end of it, he's fucking with him, and he's like, you're the only person I ever watch me record like this. It's fucking kind of weird.
And he's like one of the hardest working people in the business.
Really?
Yeah.
They got to be constantly moving around to get the content for shows like that, huh?
Yes.
That's one thing like Sean Evans told me. He's like,
the hot one.
It's like for him, it's not like me where I can interview a million different people in a week. It's like, no, they are off and hunting down the celebrities that they want because they only really fuck with like huge stars.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's been continuous steps up. Like watching them, they operate on a higher level, like big stars, big budgets. So it's been amazing to just work under that and to learn everything that's happening with that. But the state of media is interesting. Like, what do you think about everything in 2023 right now?
It's the wild, wild west. I know a lot of big YouTube channels have told me that this year has not really been that kind to them. Views might be down a little bit. There's just so much competition. We're doing all right, but it's also like, in my mind, how will we be doing in 2 years? I don't know. It really could go either way. It feels like overall the number of revenue streams and opportunities we have available are getting better, but then the audience is being splintered between a million different possible things. Like there's probably people who watched No Jumper a couple years ago that at some point started watching fucking Cameron and Mace talk about sports, and they retired from watching No Jumper because they had something that was like more applicable to their personality, because now you're like, if I was into sports, I would probably be like removing other podcasts from my weekly media diet to watch that shit because those are dudes that were gods to me when I was a kid, So I don't know. It's a very interesting media landscape for sure.
What did you think about our media list of the top media personalities in hip hop?
The Complex one?
She helped do that. But you got 19.
I think I was like 18, maybe 16, something like that. I forget. I don't know. It was all right.
we just went over
19.
it.
Oh, okay.
It was 19.
Was it 19? Okay.
Dude, but Adam, you're very important. Like,
nobody wants to
I told her
acknowledge
that list
that.
was capped, though.
Well, it's always drama.
Yeah.
Like, they try to mix it up and make it drama, but
I will
feel
say
like
there were some people above me on that list that it is unthinkable to suggest that they are more important than me. And there's also people who I saw below me that to me, it's unthinkable that they would be below me. So I don't know. But I mean, hey, it's up to everybody. Everybody has a different vision of who's important. So I didn't really comment too much on where I got placed.
I don't think you said anything.
I'm happy to be in there at all, I guess. Whatever.
You're important, Adam.
But I don't really focus on other people's opinions of me that much. I try to stay out of that whole game. Because the more hyper conscious you are of how people think of you, I don't think that's a good thing for your content.
Do you read the comments?
I read a lot of comments on our
Do
shit.
you?
Yeah,
I try not to. I feel like the comments will make you like, maybe I shouldn't have wore that.
My girl will be like, what are you laughing at? And I'll be in bed just reading the comments on the new Whack 100 podcast, just sitting there laughing my ass off, just remembering little things that I thought were funny on the podcast through other people laughing at them in the comments. So please, by all means, do that on here. Because I do read it a lot more than I probably should.
I try not to read the comments just to try to stay inspired, and because they'll try to drag you. And
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. It's going to make me like overthink wearing ones. And they're like, why she got ones on? Like just stupid stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially as a woman where they're going to make a huge part of it your looks, or they're going to like, there's a lot of stuff that guys could do that gets treated as normal. And if a girl does it, then it's just like, you're a piece of shit. And
yeah. Just like how I interview every drill rapper and they say that we messed around like as soon as the interview was done.
Right.
That's just like normal in the comments. Like,
like the Cash shit.
Yeah. Like, and then he built
But speaking of Cash, you had like one of the last, I think between you, Truth Teller might have had the last one, but you and Adam too. Like actually y'all were the last few people to interview FBG Cash. Mm-hmm. And in that interview, he did like some foreshadowing of like his death. Like he kind of like talked about it. Like, how was that for you when you go back and listen to that one?
For me, I think that was probably one of the hardest And it still is really hard. Like when I think about it. And it's just hard for me because I think they still haven't solved the case. And they haven't given any public updates about anything. And it's just like I still walk around Chicago. I still go to Jewel. I'm at Baba's again all the time, you know? So it's like I people might know who I am, but I might not know who they are. And it's like, so I just really am really careful about what I say about it until they finally solve the case. But
do you feel like he was set up by a girl?
And I haven't spoke on this. You know, I put out that interview a year ago and then I just turned the computer off. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to build on it because it was just so heartbreaking to me. Like the way that whole entire thing happened, it just broke my heart because my love for Cash was so deep. Like I love Cash. And we built such a dope rapport. Have you ever built a rapport with a rapper where you're just like, I actually, you know what? I like you. And you could come back and we could keep talking. I feel like you and J-Man kind of like that.
Fuck him.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, for sure. Like there'll be times where you're like, oh, I thought I was just going to be interviewing you, but it kind of feels like we're friends now.
Yeah.
Maybe we should work on this.
That's exactly what happened with me and Cash. So we just started being friends and we started making a lot of content together. We did a lot of interviews and right before he died, so we actually did this really long podcast of like 2 hours where we were just in Chicago talking and laughing. We talked till the camera died. Like it was just amazing. And long story short, the camera guy ended up losing the footage.
The worst thing ever.
Listen, like, but long story short, the good thing is we recorded the audio separate. Do you record your audio separate from your camera?
Oh, don't. Well, actually, yeah, we do.
Oh, so that's why I got the video out with the audio because I heard that one too.
That's why we have the audio, but we don't have the video. The camera guy ended up, I guess, dropping his hard drive and he lost the whole interview. But we had the audio separate. I had the audio. So I'm like, So I tell Cash like, da, 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 da. He was like, is this the ops? I'm like, no, it's not. It's just a camera guy. He lost it. He was like, it's fine. He's like, I'm going to LA. I'm shooting this video with Ruger. Come with me to LA. Let's do some more content. I'm like, cool. Let's do a day in the life. So we and him are planning all this content that we're going to do. And so I went to LA and this dude just signed a deal. We're going to talk about that because he came here. And I want to get your opinion on that. But he just signed a deal. He picked me up from LAX in a baby blue McLaren. And he was just whipping it, just driving crazy. And we ended up filming like a day in the life. And we went and he shot a music video. He did a song with Ruger. Like we did this whole long day and we shot everything. And then at night we did this interview. And it was like a really creepy kind of interview on the back end. But during the day, it was amazing. It was the best day. Like I've never had that much fun with an artist that I can even think of. He treated me so well. He was such a gentleman. Like Cash was the most nicest, funny, amazing person ever. And we did this really long interview. 16 was there. Billy was there. All these people were there. Yeah. And we ended up talking about death. Like I don't know how. We just ended up talking about death. And he's just like, no one's ever going to kill me. Like I'm not like never going to get caught up like that. And I don't want to die because it's going to really hurt you and all the people that are close to me. And he just goes into this long thing about death. And we're just talking about it. And then like, boom, it was cool. After that, we go get tacos. Everything is fine. And then we air the interview. And this was maybe, when I put the interview out, maybe it was like 3 days before he got killed. So we were in LA. We did all that content. He shot the video with Ruger. Everything's cool.
I like how you say Ruger with a hard R.
I know. It sounds so proper. Ruger. I sound so proper with it, right?
Yeah.
So we did all of that, and then we ended up parting ways. And mind you, the whole time that we were in LA, Rap-A-Lot was with us. Yeah. I never met these guys before, and I still haven't seen them to this day. It was just some guys from Rap-A-Lot that were just with us. I don't know. And you kind of can see in the interview they're in the background, and a lot of people in the comments are like, "Who are these people in the background?" It's just some people for Rap-A-Lot. So he ends up going to Texas with the Rap-A-Lot people, and I go back to New York, and we're still talking because we're creating content. We're planning out how we're gonna roll all this stuff out and blah blah blah. And then mind you, me and Cash were like this, like for some reason, like I said, you just ended up building certain relationships with certain artists, and you guys just become really close friends. We would be sending memes to each other all day, just laughing about stuff. Cash was so funny. Did you interviewed him several times? Like, was it
Just
in
once.
Oh, once? I felt like that was like
No.
How did you take him? How was his personality to you?
I mean, I thought it was dope. It was super funny. Definitely had a lot of star power. I didn't
Yeah.
really even get to like have a real long-term relationship with him because I was like DMing with him for a month or two, and then he got killed, and then I interviewed him, and then he got killed like very soon after. So I didn't get to know him that well, but yeah, he was dope.
He was amazing, and he was so funny, and he was always trying to like make you laugh. So he left. He went to Texas, and I went back to New York, and then we're just creating content. And something was happening to where he had to come back to Chicago, and I won't speak on that because I don't know if any of that is public, but whatever. So he came back to Chicago, and I was still talking. We were still talking, and that night that he got killed, he called me, and I was sleeping. So it's like, you see a call, but you're like tired and you're asleep. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna call him later. We used to call each other like 5 o'clock in the morning. We would talk all day like.
And you're telling me you weren't romantic.
Yeah,
You were just best friends.
No, we were just really cool.
This is starting to sound like young love.
No, we were really cool. Like, I love Cash. It's hard to explain. He was the type of person that looked out for you. So it was like he looked out for me so much as soon as we met, and I didn't even know him for that long, but it was kind of those things where you meet somebody and y'all just become like this, like quick. And he just looked out for me so much. He introduced me to so many people. He introduced me to 16. Like, I didn't know any of these people before. He introduced me to Van Lathan. I didn't know any of these. He just was like, as soon as we became connected, he was like, "You're young Oprah. I'm gonna do this." And he was just like,
I did think at a certain moment, damn, you do kind of look like a young Oprah.
just with a bigger ass though.
I haven't seen you standing up.
Okay,
but,
should I stand up? No.
They're gonna put you in a different box if you stand
Let me
up on the
not.
pod.
Actually,
yeah.
cut that out.
No,
Take
okay.
that down. No, I'm just like.
Okay, I got like 10 minutes before I
Okay.
got to go to the next interview. What else do we really need to cover? What's the
All
good
right,
clickbait?
so what I do want to ask you before we get up out of here,
I'm chewing.
do you think his case is gonna be solved?
Cash?
Yeah, Cash.
We haven't heard anything, right?
No, I think that I think it will be. I think that a lot of times when it's really quiet, I think that they're working on it, and I really hope so, because I just really want. I feel like after we finish up with the FBG duck trial, can we all just, as reporters, jump on what happened to Cash? Shout out to Trap Lord Ross. I think he said something about that.
Oh, he's working on it?
I think he
video
might
about
have
it?
said he's going to do a video on it, but I just want all of us to try to figure out what happened, because that is just one of the eeriest cases to me. And he kind of had all the information about what happened to him, and he left it with a journalist. And it was like,
Yeah.
what would you do if your friend kind of told you what happened? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, how would you approach that? So,
And here's one more I got for you too. So today, before we did the interview, because I know you and King Yella had y'all beef in the past, where
Oh, really?
all right. So King Yella went on record, and I forgot what you guys were beefing over, but he got a little disrespectful. Like, I think he called you a black bitch, right?
he did. Yeah. Because we were talking about death, and then he ended up dying. So King Yella was on Say Cheese, and he was like,
Cash ended up dying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we ended up talking about death in his last interview. So King Yella was like, why were you talking about death? I never talk about death. Whenever you talk about death, it brings the Grim Reaper type thing. So he was like, and then I think Sean said something, and then he was just like, the black bitch. I guess he didn't know my name. I mean, he knew everybody.
Yeah.
But I guess he just called me that, and I was grieving, and I'm sad, and then some people keep sending me the link. I'm like, so I ended up saying something on my IG stories like, damn, King Yella, like, I was always supporting you. Like, why would you? And then he hit me up like, my bad. I wasn't really trying to, that's just how I talk. And I'm like, it's cool. But if, it was public, let's do a public apology. And then we hopped on a live together and we had a nice conversation and we squashed it. So shout out to King Yella. I don't have nothing against him.
So did you see what public with him today, where the paperwork of him allegedly snitching on 600 Breezy, Snap Dogg, and Lil Durk, calling them GDs and BDs to the Las Vegas police?
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know if that's really, I feel like that's public knowledge. So I don't think that, like, I don't think we can classify King Yella as a snitch. Like, I don't think nothing, I don't look at him any different.
I was thinking that when I was watching 10-9 Jake's video, is that all the stuff that he's saying about all these gang members and stuff is stuff that I could kind of imagine myself saying that to a cop and not thinking it was that big a deal.
Yeah.
The thing is that King Yella is supposed to be a gang member, and if you're a gang member, you're supposed to like really not be trying to talk to the cops. My thing about King Yella, and I bet King Yella don't even know who Lush is, but he kind of reminds me of Lush, where it's like, he's just always talking. So when the cops pick him up, he just keeps talking. That's why he's making all these YouTube videos. He's just a talker. He could talk all fucking day. That's why he's good at what he does. But at a certain point, it's like, you're talking for no reason. Like, you don't need to be blabbering when you're getting in the situation with the cops. You know, it wasn't that serious. You didn't have any kind of, like, it's not like he was telling them shit so that he could get off on something. He was just talking.
Yeah, he told them basic shit that everyone in the world knows. Like,
Right.
600 Breezy is a BD. We know that.
Yeah.
All set might be a GD. We know that. Like, I don't think it was that serious either.
Right. I don't think it was anything.
But the black and white, you know how they nowadays.
But you don't want 1090 Jake to be mad at you, because what he did in that video is he highlights the snitching shit, but then he also puts together a bunch of other shit and is kind of like, oh, here's an overall package of why you shouldn't fuck with King Yella. Which 1090 Jake, to be fair, he got some ether in him. Like he will take your ass down if he feels like it. That was a pretty lethal video.
Are you gonna have King Yella up here explaining?
I would love to. He just told me that he can't leave Vegas, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it to Vegas in like the next week or so. Although it would be kind of cool to jump out there and do it. But he already probably got a bunch of thirsty people trying to get interviews
all these
in.
little
with him.
blogs, the micro blogs.
You know, Cam Capone's all over it.
Shout out
my Cam boy Cam.
I love Cam.
Yeah.
But this was dope though, for sure. We gotta.
Yeah.
No, like definitely. I feel like when the verdict happens, bring me back and let's break it down so I can really tell you how I really feel.
But so you're happy. You're doing more business, corporate, behind the scenes stuff with Complex and whatever, and then you're also pretty hyped to be doing your own independent content. Does that seem like a pretty good mix for you at this time? You're able to do the corporate shit as well as do your own thing independent on YouTube?
100%. I think a lot of times I'm like sad because I feel like I can't put as much time into doing content because, you know, it's a full-time job cutting these clips. You have employees, So it's like I'll be like sometimes going back and forth between, oh man, I'm working for the man, and then at the same time I have my little baby here, and if I put more time in my baby, I would like. So I'll be going back and forth on that, but I would never abandon this lane, and I love it, and I want to continue to put out content. Going to court next week. I have a new streaming show that I'm going to be dropping, so I'm going to be live streaming every week. So shout out, stay tuned to that. But yeah, I'm just going to keep building on it. And when the verdict drops, I want to come back and let's talk about it because I'm going to be going to court next week, and I'm just going to be there making sure that I get everybody the right information.
For sure.
Let's do it. And shout out my boy Tay Savage because he the one who got us in tune.
Shout out to Tay Savage. Okay, so let me.
All the girls love Tay Savage.
I love Tay.
They all think he's so gentle and nice, you know?
Because he's bringing another aspect to the game. It's no blackballing. Like, he had the ability to do what he wanted to do when he came out. And he didn't do that. He embraced everybody. He's pushing peace. Like, I mean, of course, you can't ask anybody to be perfect.
Yeah.
You can't.
He's a savage. They don't call him Tay Savage for nothing.
He's
a
the
savage
most
motherfucker.
respectable, lovable, like, nice human being ever. And
Very
it might
nice
just
guy.
be because I'm a female and I'm, you know.
Yeah,
but
sometimes you might have to deal with that bias. Like
Maybe.
Even me, they're going to be like, oh, Adam was flirting with her. No, I'm just
They're
nicer.
gonna say that.
You're nicer to a nice young lady than you are to the average Joe off the street. I think that's fair, right?
Yes, and Tay Savage is just bringing a whole new era in. And I love Tay. He's actually very, very professional and inspiring, and he's pushing peace with J Mane. Shout out to J Mane too. He's the hardest working.
You ain't hear Tay Savage diss record?
But that's what I'm saying. You can't expect him to be perfect.
Not quite perfect.
It's a yin and a yang. Like, everybody got their ends to him, but he's not all evil.
If you woke up one morning and you only had 2 cereals to choose from, and you could either have a bowl of Whoops or a bowl of Durkios, what would you chow down on?
That's a hard question. I can't mix them both
No.
with some oat milk.
No, these two cereals don't mix.
Damn. Gosh.
Once-
I don't know. That's a hard question. I do like Durkeos. They definitely hold the milk. They don't get too soggy.
Right.
But Whoops are kind of hot right now.
Realistically, Lil Durk, rich as fuck, huge name in the music game. J-Mane was sleeping in a Staples parking lot a year ago. So maybe in terms of quality control, you might want to trust Lil Durk. But it's also fun to root for the underdog.
Yeah.
And the Whoops
Let's
is
start there.
pushing
Let's
peace.
start there.
And the Whoops is
The
pushing
Whoops
peace.
represent peace, whereas Lil Durk's cereal realistically represents a whole lot of other stuff.
Serial killing. I'm just talking shit.
But J-Mane also used to represent those things quite a bit as well. So.
No, King Von cereal was a different type of cereal.
Different cereal,
That
yeah.
was a different
But
kind
nah,
of
this
cereal.
was dope. We need to run it back for sure.
I do like Whoops. Shout out to J-Mane.
Let's start there.
Over whooping.
Do you overwhoop?
Never.
Never.
I never over whoop.
You don't really seem like an overwhooper.
Nah, I'm not over whooper.
Well, that's good to know. All right, Drea, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Let's stay in touch. Remo,
will.
thanks for setting it up.
Thank you
For
guys.
sure. Shout out my boy Tay Savage.
Let's go. No
Shout out
Jumper.
Tay.
Coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, Instagram. Like, comment, and subscribe. NoJumper.com if you want
Drea O.
to support.
Drea O.
There you go.
Drea O. Drea O.